Hello and welcome everyone to today's edition of Healing Our Minds, an initiative from the Foundation for Universal Responsibility of His Holiness the Dalai Lama that seeks to provide a multidisciplinary and multi-faith lens to the idea of our mental and emotional well-being. Tonight, we will be looking at the spirit of homeopathy with Dr. Sankaran, who has authored over 20 books and is an eminent teacher amongst homeopaths worldwide. His understanding of disease as a delusion, followed by his discovery of newer miasms, have paved the way to groundbreaking concepts of eliciting the vital sensations of the patient, the common thread of experience which runs through at all levels. A student of Indian classical music, he has designed a therapeutic tool, a music app called Raga, which harnesses the power of ragas from Indian classical music to produce a healing effect. In conversation with him will be Rajiv Mehrotra, a student of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the honorary trustee and secretary of the Foundation for Universal Responsibility, which was established with the Nobel Peace Prize. His books are available in more than 50 languages and editions. A few notes about how it's going to sort of work out. We will be speaking, Mr. Mehrotra and Dr. Sankaran will be in a conversation, but all of the attendees are most welcome to ask their questions. You will see a little icon at the bottom of your screens where it says Q&A. So you can just click on that box and put in your questions and we will attempt to answer them as best as we can. Through the session, Dr. Sankaran will also be sharing a few exercises for each one of us. So we request you to do the exercises and share your answers or your experiences in the chat box, which you will also see if you click on your screens, you'll see that at the bottom. This video will be available on FUR's YouTube channel post the weekend. So if there's anything that you want to go back to, you're most welcome to watch it on the YouTube channel. With that, I'd like to hand over to Rajiv.
Thank you very much, Aparna, and a very warm welcome to a dear old friend, Dr. Sankaran. And I too am a student of his and have learned not so much about homeopathy, but about life, living, and processing the challenges of life, and certainly about healing the mind. And I mean, I want to be one of the sort of, how to put it, testaments to his success. And I do want to recall a personal story, and I will keep it brief because he has often accused me of being very verbose and giving him extraordinarily long answers for which he doesn't charge me, luckily, that he would charge me twice what he normally does. And so, well, I'd been to China, and I had been picked up by the Chinese police and kept in custody for a while. And I came back with a kind of post-traumatic stress disorder, which I was struggling with. And I went on to meet with Dr. Sankaran in Bombay. And while I was talking, there was a particular hand gesture that I kept sort of using, and it was a recurring gesture. And then he spotted that, pointed that out to me, and said that, look, this gesture encapsulates what you're going through and you're feeling, being trapped. And so he led me to a computer where there was an animation. I think it's a Spanish fly plant somewhere in Latin America, which also followed this movement. And it was that medication that really, released me and my mind from that trauma, through a series of dreams. And so I think that the great sort of, I'm really excited about this evening because our program has been looking at healing our minds. But here is someone who looks healing our minds, but healing us through our minds and analyzing everything that we experience physically and emotionally through penetrating our personalities, our psyche, through the mind. I just wanted to give us a sense of what Dr. Sankaran brings to the table. I was just going through, I have all his books, but his books read Homeopathy for Today's World, Discovering Your Animal, Mineral, or Planet or Plant Nature, The Spirit of Homeopathy. The other song, Discovering Your Parallel Self, and The Soul of Remedies. I mean, who imagined that remedies had a soul? And so he's really peeled numerous layers of the human personality, the human psyche, and the way that medicines and now music penetrate that. Another sort of brief aside, I know I'm taking up valuable time during which he should be talking, is that, one of the feedbacks we've got to our series of programs is that people really want to know, what can we do? And there is a kind of impatience, particularly at the time of COVID, as people suffer solitude, loneliness, the relationships. So I'd start with a question which is not quite Dr. Sankaran's way of approaching healing. Is that someone walks into your door, Dr. Sankaran, front door, and says all these things, that I'm lost, bewildered, anguished, depressed. What should I do? What would you say to
them? Well, thank you so much for your introduction and for the invitation also, and also for sharing your experience. And I think before I can answer your question, what would I tell somebody to do? I think that it very much depends on how we understand what is health, what is disease, what is suffering, what is stress. And then we can address the question of what can somebody do about it. So I would like to stay with that for the moment. And what you described, I would like to go back to that. You said that you were in China and you were maybe arrested or something like that by the police, and you underwent a certain stressful situation. You underwent a very anxious moment, a crisis moment. Many things in our life are like that, isn't it? I mean, when somebody walks through the door and says, I'm bewildered, I'm confused, I don't know what to do, he obviously has undergone some kind of a difficult situation. And so when you came to me and you said that I have this particular incident that happened, and post this incident, my mind is not okay. I'm disturbed. I may be having attacks of anxiety or some physical problem or whatever it may be. What can I do with that? This is the first question. And I would like to first say what normally, people may advise in terms of feeling better. They say, okay, take a holiday, don't think about it, divert your mind, chant, meditate, go into, a spiritual path, or just party, go into, good company, stop thinking, stop worrying, go into analysis, take psychotherapy, maybe take antidepressants or, whatever, anxiolytics. So what these kind of solutions address is basically the symptom, the expression, whether it is panic, it is sleeplessness, or it is some kind of a bodily symptom, etc. But these solutions do not have a long-term effect. That it doesn't last long. So what to do then? So we need to go to the very root of the problem, the source of the problem. And I did a lot of work on this area for the last 30, 40 years. And I can tell you that the essence of my of what I discovered is that the mind is not the problem. We don't have to do anything with the mind at all, because the mind itself is an expression of a deeper pattern or perception. It is actually a holistic kind of problem, in that sense that the mind and body are equally involved in whatever you are seeing. And it's beyond the mind, actually. When you try to just heal the mind, it's a superficial thing. So what I asked you, describe to me, what did you experience in that crisis moment? And this is the interesting thing, isn't it? That each individual experiences the same situation in a completely individual, different manner than anybody else. You see? You can experience this in everyday life. You are driving a car, an auto rickshaw guy cuts across very, very sharply. What's the reaction? Just think about it. One fellow will roll down the window and abuse him. Another fellow will feel indignant and boil inside, and the third fellow will laugh at him and he say, well, this guy obviously comes from an auto rickshaw school, where they teach bad driving. That's how it is. You have to be careful. So you will see such a plethora of possibilities, and each individual will experience, perceive the situation in his own individual way. And when then we understand a very, very fundamental thing, that the stress is not coming from the situation, but from our perception of it. In any situation, we have the possibility to perceive it and respond to it in a different manner. And we all respond and perceive to any situation in a very, very fixed individualistic manner, in a very, very fixed pattern of perception and response. And this is what we need to uncover or discover. So the system of homeopathy that I kind of originated was the idea of going from the symptom, which may be anger, which may be fear, which may be panic, which may be palpitations, which may be whatever, even an ulcer or a burning or whatever it may be. From there, from the emotional level, we tried to go into the level of imagination. Okay, you felt panic, you felt fear. Now, can you tell me, how did this fear feel? How was it seen by you? Oh, now I'm just using my imagination, not yours. So give me that flexibility. So you might say, or somebody else might say, the police caught me and I went into the police station. I got so scared. I thought, now I'm stuck here. Now they are not going to release me. Now I'm finished. Now I'm going to be killed, or whatever, the imagination, This imagination is what causes the emotion of fear. The fear is based on an imagination. Now, the level of imagination is also somewhat superficial. When you take that imagination and go a little deeper and you say, okay, now you're caught, now you're stuck, now you're going to be killed. How does it feel within you, in your body, in your entire being? How does this perception experienced? And I tell you, most of us are not in touch with that. And when the homeopath or people who especially follow the system that I originated, it is called the sensation method. And a lot of practitioners in the world are now following that. So we encourage the patient to go deeper into the experience. This is not an easy process. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes space. But when we are able to get there, the patient closes his eyes and he says, I feel something. Yes, I see these people are all closing in on me and they are all coming towards me like that. And then I feel it in my chest. I feel some tightness. I feel this tightness. I feel it in my chest. I feel it's just closing. And then he can go into a quite an intense experience. This experience is not merely a mental experience. It is also a somatic or a physical experience where the entire organism, body and mind, are involved as if in a kind of a survival response which involves the body and the mind. You see, how can you describe this? Is this physical or mental? When somebody feels, I feel tight, I feel choked, and you probably describe, I feel as if I am going to be just trapped, just like this. Where is this coming from? And this aspect of this experience that you feel at the deepest level has two qualities. One quality, it is extremely individual. Nobody else would have that experience. Secondly, it is something that is common not only for this situation, but probably for every situation in your life. It is possible when you describe your headache, you'll say, I feel as if it is tight, my headache is tight, tight, tight. Tomorrow you will have a dream, and in that dream you will see something tight, tight, tight. So it is the connecting thread of your entire life. It's as if you are living that pattern in every aspect of your being. And the third thing about this pattern is that it makes completely no sense. It is not logical. It cannot be explained. It cannot be reasoned. And it cannot be uh, wished away and say, no, it's not true. No, 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 no. It is your reality. Your experience is your truth. It is complete nonsense, but that's your truth. And what is nonsense for a human being makes perfect sense for some other being on this earth. In this case, it was a carnivorous plant because the fly sits on the plant and the plant traps it. And that's the remedy that you received. It was from a carnivorous plant. So the deepest pattern of each individual mimics the pattern of an animal, a mineral, or a plant. And when we take that animal, mineral, or plant, make it into a homeopathic remedy by ultra dilution, where only the spirit of that remedy remains, not the substance, and we give it to the patient, a kind of mirroring happens, as if the song of the patient is mirrored by the song of a mineral, animal, or plant which is closest to him. And this mirroring produces a kind of subconscious awareness. It's like you see yourself in the mirror and the healing automatically happens. This is the principle of homeopathy. So if a person walks in now, to answer your question, and says, I feel confused, I feel bewildered, whatever he says, I'll say, sit down, my friend, sit in front of me, and let's go into this experience. Let's see what you experience. Describe this bewildered, describe this confused, and I'll give him all the space to go in without any interpretation, without any logic, just purely with his experience. I will take myself as far back into the background as possible, like a fly on the wall, and allow him the space, or just gently guide him into his own experience. And when he reaches the depth of his experience, either I can find a remedy that matches him, or this process itself can have a therapeutic or a healing effect. And that's the process that I also originated. It is called WISE, Witnessing Inner Song Experience. And this process has proved to be very, very useful in improving the quality of life and the entire mental stress factors that individuals go through. We have successfully done this process in thousands of people across the world. And basically, it is based on the homeopathic principle of mirroring. But here it's not mirroring with a remedy, but mirroring with your own awareness. So these are the two ways in which I can help the individual who comes to me with a, what you call in inverted commas, a mental issue, which I don't think is purely mental at all.
I think there are sort of, I mean, what an amazing, and thank you, broad canvas of almost sort of illumination and enlightenment that you've given us. But I think that isn't there a risk that this therapeutic process of revealing oneself by its very nature may unravel aspects of the experience that a person or an individual isn't willing to cope and acknowledge? It is, in a sense, the similar to the practice of psychotherapy, where a therapist brings to the surface and it releases. This was in some ways what Freud was trying to do. So that was one issue that came up for me. The second one was the ability of the individual to articulate and express themselves in a manner that the therapist or the homeopath would be able to decipher and draw inferences from. And so how does this structure, how does this approach work in the context of, say, public health, where a lot of people have to be helped in some manner or the other? So these are the two important issues that came up for me. And third aspect, which was how in your matrix, there is this aspect of causality, because each one of us brings to our experience, imprints in our consciousness, our karma, our background, whatever we want to describe it as, and that really governs our responses. So what you're really saying to us is that by identifying something in sort of in animal nature, mineral, that evokes and mimics this when consumed in homeopathic proportions, will somehow mirror and hence neutralize those imprints in our consciousness, so that when we next confront that, we do not experience stress and trauma.
Yes. So now my main experience after your question is bewilderment and confusion. You are talking to a simple, humble homeopath and you fire 3 questions at the same time in 3 different directions. Now I have to find my own treatment, I think so. So would you mind please taking one question at a time? I'll be happy to address.
Okay, so let's start with this, the idea of therapy and where the risk.
Yes, so let me address that part first. Is there a risk in going deeper and uncovering or revealing one's deeper patterns? This is your question. So what we have done in terms of homeopathy as well as the wise processes is that we have perfected a kind of a technique by which, while the person is bringing up his experience, as he's bringing up the experience, we encourage him to take a step back and to watch it like a witness and not get involved in it completely. If he's not able to do it, we stop the process. But 99% of the time, this works. So you take a step back and you're able to see something very interesting, that the pattern is something that happens to you, but you are not the pattern. You are the silent, peaceful witness that is behind the pattern. The pattern is like a wave that comes up, it can be observed, and if you stay with it, it subsides. And the moment you are able to see that your panic, your fear, your pattern, your this trapped feeling is something that can come and go, and it's not who you are, it doesn't affect you so much. And that itself has a tremendous healing quality. So one of the main principles of homeopathy, as well as my life itself, is that awareness is the key to healing. Basically, this is it. And the awareness has to be done from a position of neutrality, from a position of silence, witnessing, mindfulness, or whatever it's the same idea. So this is what we encourage people to do. And we have not seen any ill effects or side effects of it.
What I had in mind was that, somebody has been a victim of, say, rape, and that
Yes,
created, has created these series of responses to that rape.
right.
And of course, in many of the, sort of the other sort of philosophical traditions, in Buddhism, for example, we would look to ways of antidoting its impact on the person's psyche and ability to cope, rather than bringing to surface, and because it may sort of further aggravate a condition. So, I mean, because the range of experiences that, that will come to you will vary hugely. So I'm looking at an extreme situation like that. And then how do you handle it?
Well, I believe that, everybody shouldn't do it. You should have the training to do it. And if you have the training, you will know at what point it becomes somewhat risky to go ahead. But I tell you, most of the people are able to do it. And the awareness of it is the ultimate healing. When you become, even you have undergone a very difficult crisis moment, but it's a very, very individual experience. It's not the crisis that caused it, but your individual perception of it also that needs to be healed. And therefore, when you become aware of it, that healing happens. And this is the way it can be a long-term healing solution. And we have to be very careful, obviously, but I can tell you most people are able to go through it with very, very good effects. And in fact, I'm thinking that at this point, maybe we can do a small exercise and see how it works out, a small taster of a wise process, of a witnessing inner song experience process. It's very simple. I'll just share my screen and then we will take it ahead. So I'll just run through this few points. The first is that for people who are unaware, homeopathy is a system of medicine that is based on a law called similia similibus curanter, which means likes are cured by likes. And it was founded by Hahnemann more than 200 years ago. He was a German physician. As I told you, that in homeopathy, we do not split the mind and the body. And in fact, we have something called the materia medica of homeopathic remedies that describes each remedy in terms of both body and mind, and often uses the similar terminology. For example, belladonna is a remedy, the datura plant, belladonna, and it has got violence, and violence is both physical and mental. So the person can be violent mentally, but also has violent headaches, violent throbbings, etc. So we don't really differentiate that this is mind and this is body. We see that both are part of a deeper pattern that expresses in both the areas. And then each remedy in the materia medica is a whole list of symptoms. And earlier in homeopathy, the homeopath would compare which remedy symptoms matched the patient's symptoms. And that's how he would prescribe that remedy. But in the recent evolution of homeopathy, we came to the idea of kingdoms, that each remedy is coming from a different kingdom, mineral, animal, and plant. And this also can be used. Does the patient have a mineral nature, an animal nature, or a plant nature? And then we can choose a remedy from that particular kingdom also. For example, when we talk of the idea of mirroring, we talk about, the story of the Buddha. So it seems that there was a woman who brought her dead child to Buddha. And she said, now make him alive. Somehow you are Buddha, you can do it. And he tried to convince her, I can't do it. He said, but she wouldn't listen to him. So the story goes that he told her, I will do it, because she bugged him enough, I will do it, but you have to bring me a grain of rice from the house of a person who has had no grief. So the woman went from house to house and saying, did you have any grief in your house? And they sat her down and they told the story of their loss and their grief. And when she went to 3, 4 houses like that, her own grief was healed. So Buddha, I would say, was the first homeopath who understood the law of cure, is that by mirroring your grief. So when you go to the house of somebody who has had a bereavement, you don't normally tell them jokes, you tell them your grief. So your grief mirrors their grief, and then there is consolation. You see, this is also called sympathy. Sympathy comes from two words. Sim means similar, and pathy means suffering. So homeopathy and sympathy are very similar, I would say. So in terms of the kingdoms, we have three types of response. For example, if a person has had, let's say a girl comes to me and says, I had a bad experience, I had severe disappointment in love, till yesterday this guy was saying, I love you, and he would send me 100 WhatsApp messages every day, and now he blocked me. This is it. I'm broken, I'm finished, I'm betrayed. So what do we do with this? So we ask her, what is your experience of this? How do you experience? And then you will see the differences in experience. One will say, it was a shock. No, I couldn't believe it. I was just numb. I was stupefied. I couldn't think. My mind became blank. This is a plant response. It is sensitivity and reactivity. Whereas when you see another girl, she will say, my whole world collapsed. I had built all my dreams on this guy. I had thought we are going to marry on that day. We are going to set up a house there. We are going to have 2 kids, male and female. We even named the kids, the whole story was there. And suddenly the whole house of cards came crumbling down. This is a mineral response. It has to do with structure. And the third is an animal response. How dare he? He told like this, now I will show him, now I will take revenge, now I will finish him, this competition and this kind of victim aggressor feeling is an animal response. So in this way, we are able to understand the inner pattern doesn't come from the human, it comes from something outside of a human. And it's some energy in nature that, we are kind of mirroring or mimicking in some sense. Now you ask me another question, and that is, so here is the, the levels we spoke about, from emotion to imagination to sensation. We go deeper and deeper and deeper into a person's experience. Okay. And this is what we were talking about. What is wise? Wise is witnessing inner song experience. Witnessing means to observe from a distance, without judgment, without wanting or not wanting. And inner means the inner drama, and song means the pattern that is within you. And the experience means this pattern is an experience. It is not an emotion, it is not an imagination, it is your deepest experience. And that's what we would like to exercise, we would like to do with you. So what we are doing now is, all participants of this webinar, you can do it. Take this posture. Just sit down, head bent forward, your left fist towards you, right fist away from you, eyes closed. Just do this. And now, imagine, use your imagination. Forget your logic, forget your interpretation. Use your imagination and imagine someone, not you, someone in any time and space. It can be 10,000 years before or after. It can be on the earth or on the moon, or any country, any time, any space. And anyone other than you or anyone you know is in this posture. Just imagine. What is happening to this person? What is the situation? What is surrounding him? What is happening to this person? For which reason he has taken this posture? Imagine. Imagine a person, not you, in any time and space, in this posture. What is happening to this person? What is the story? What is the scenario? Put yourself in the shoes of this person. Imagine you are there at that time, that space, and that is happening to you. And then start experiencing the sensations in your body, in your head, chest, abdomen, hands, and feet. Start experiencing your emotions, your fear, anger, fright, whatever it may be. Start experiencing the movie. What is happening before this incident and how does this continue? As if this is a still in a movie. Imagine the movie and imagine especially your bodily experiences. Bring it up into your consciousness and live it fully. This can have a great effect on you. You can do it right now. Don't wait for any other moment. Once again, transport yourself into somebody else in any time or space who is having this posture. Imagine the scenario, imagine before and after. Put yourself in the place of this person and start experiencing your deepest experiences, especially in the bodily sensations. Allow that experience to come up. Then take a step back and watch that experience come up. It will come up to a certain intensity, and then slowly you will find that that wave subsides. Just watch this process. Take your time. Allow the experience to come up. Take distance. Don't get too involved. Take a little distance. And when you allow that wave of experience to come and go, just see how do you feel within you. Observe, become aware. If somebody would like to share their experience, please go ahead. And others, if you like to share it on the chat box, please, you can write it there.
Well, maybe I will offer a perspective. Oh, we have Marin. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when you asked to imagine, what I pictured was a kickboxing sparring session where you're, sparring with a partner, but just before you land a right uppercut. So I felt that sensation of the torque that you feel that rises up from your legs all the way to your hips, that transfers the energy of a punch. And once you asked me to move out of it, what I felt was it's like when you shift your weight between your legs while you're sparring, because you have to keep moving. So it felt like a tilt of energy of sorts, where something, as in you're constantly shifting your balance, and what you're feeling is, as in, do you want me to continue with what is felt in the body or what is felt in the mind?
How did you feel in the body?
That sense of shifting, where you feel a transference of power surging upwards, like from your leg and upwards to your arm, and then a sense of up and down movement, because after that you're moving back, and it's like a seesaw feeling of energy going up and down, up and down. Okay. So it's when you transfer weight between your legs, because once you land the punch, you move back and you bob and weave for that. So there was this.
How do you feel after undergoing this process? How do you feel at the moment?
Exhilaration, a sense of competition and camaraderie. At the same time, exhilaration from that surge of energy.
Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. We have Gayatri. Go ahead, Gayatri.
If we can support this right now. Similar to Merin, I felt like some kinetic energy building up inside of me, especially within the palms of my hand and the balls of my feet. Like I'm about to go into and attack somebody. It felt defensive, like there is a threat to my just physical well-being, and that I might have to fight my way out to safety. And trying to back away from like the sensations and trying to observe that felt like there was a definite dissipation of that intensity of what I'm feeling. So to feel like I'm shifting from tapping into a survival instinct to just neutrality, and to be able to just observe it as a third person, that's a neutral party that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Okay. How do you feel at the moment after the process?
Exhausted, tired, really tired.
Yeah.
Like it does feel like I was in the middle of a dangerous situation and I've just come out of it.
Right. Okay. Very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
You look exhausted, but also happy for some reason.
It was a very surreal feeling to experience something that I think logically I understand I'm not in danger, but to feel it so somatically anyway.
Yes. So this is the whole story of our life. We are not living our life according to outer reality. There is no danger there. But we are living life according to our inner reality. And when that inner reality comes into our awareness, there can be a healing. And you say, I realize I'm not in danger, but why do I feel like that? Right? So this is your pattern. And if we go deeper and you stay with the pattern, either we can find you a remedy or you can heal by just the awareness. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to sort of barge in a bit because time is, whizzing by, and there is so much that we have to learn from you. But I think the question that keeps coming up is that, and you bring to it, I mean, you organize retreats, you do workshops for people who are confronting crises. You have engaged in, you're a student of philosophy, of religion, of practice. It's such a wide spectrum. So other than coming to a homeopath, from your own position in life, what are the things that we can do ourselves to heal our minds and to heal ourselves? And of course, underlying what you said, of course, you've demonstrated the relationship very eloquently between mind and body, somatic, that the body can be both a reservoir of emotion and a trigger for emotion and sort of an expression of emotion. So what are some of the things that you would do yourself when you were confronting the kinds of challenges that all of us do in life? Do you go and pop a homeopathic pill?
Well, homeopathy is a very, very good way to help us, especially when we are a little bit out of control also, where, meditation and all that, we don't have the space for that sometimes, because we are so full of our pattern. Can you imagine a person is seeing danger all around him, and, tigers are attacking him? So to tell this person, please sit down and meditate and breathe deep, it's not always working. So sometimes you need to take the edge off by the homeopathic remedy and create the space for, further spiritual development or evolution. The other thing I wanted to share with all of you is a work that I'm doing as far as music is concerned. And I'll just share that a little bit. So anyway, the WISE process, we did statistical study and we found that it really improved the quality of life. But it's not just a one process. We did 8 processes, one after the other every week. And we did it for more than 1,000 participants. Anyway, as far as music is concerned, this is a very, very important healing tool that we have in India, especially with ragas. And I have been a student of Indian classical music, much to the detriment of my neighbors, I would say that. But still, after a lot of things, you see, we found out that each raga has a specificity. Each raga has a character. In India, we define a raga as, it has a certain, time, it has a certain mood, it has a certain, etc., etc. So what I did, I started doing research on ragas. And I found out that if we play a raga to people, volunteers, and they actually note down the effect of the raga, then we can use a raga in a person who has a similar state as what the raga actually produces. So this is the research that I did. And from this research, I created a raga therapy app. This is available for free on Google Play Store as well as iOS platforms. And this will ask you a series of questions. How do you feel? How do you want to feel? What is your sensation? What sensation you want to experience? And through this, we have created an algorithm by which it will identify the raga that will help you. And then I will sing that raga for you for between 15 and 20 minutes in that app. If you want to, yeah.
No,
and you can go to this website.
It's okay. We don't have that time right now. Okay.
Sorry?
I said, that's what you sing on the app. I just hastened to add before people.
Yes, but the app will choose the exact raga that matches your state at that moment. If you want to read about the Raga Therapy app, you can go to sampurnamhealing.com and there is a Raga Therapy app. The whole idea is written over there. You can have a read. And these ragas are very, very useful in terms of healing, I would say that. And, somehow our music directors, they knew this secret. And what they did is they always matched the song with that particular raga, which has the same kind of state or mood. As a simple example, I will sing you a raga because otherwise nobody listens to me anyway. So this is a good opportunity. So I will sing you Raga Yaman. What you can do is just close your eyes for just 3 minutes. Listen to this raga and see what emotion is evoked in you. What kind of imagination, what kind of sensation comes up for you. Try it out. Let's see what happens. And then please write on the chat box what you experienced, what emotion, mood, imagination you experienced. Let the raga go through you, not through your mind. Close your eyes and let it go through you. Let it penetrate. Let it go deep, not to your mind. Connect to it. Tune into it. Plug into it, you can say. Nirega re, nirega ma re ma ga re, nirega ma pa re ga nire dha nire sa.
Well, the first thing I want to do is applaud.
What kind of images, moods came to you? Can you write on chat box? What emotions it evoked in you? There's no right answer to this question. Yes, Radha and Krishna are waiting for love to come back. You see the image, nostalgia, melancholy, abandonment. I'm losing somebody important in my life. I have to say goodbye. You see what people are writing. This is Raga Yaman. The main feeling is it is a sense of separation from your loved one, waiting for Krishna. It is written like that. It is the sunset hour. It is a sad feeling. It is a painful feeling. This is the feeling of Yaman Rag. When there is a feeling of separation, you know, that you are going away from your loved one. And if you see the songs that are composed, even in Bollywood, they are all like this, you know. Abhi na jao chhod ke dil abhi bhara nahi. Abhi na jao chhod ke dil abhi bhara nahi. Or in classical music, Sakhieri ali piya bina जब से पिया परदेस गवन की नोरतियाँ कटत मोरे तारे गिन गिन एरी आली पिया बिन सखी. So try the raga therapy. It might help you also. And then one last thing I will say maybe, and then we can stop. And that is this awareness that we talk about, you know, is also, we can extend it. And very importantly, we have to extend it to spiritual awareness. The awareness at level of emotions, awareness at the level of your pattern, awareness at the level of your inner song, and spiritual awareness. And for that, you can see that basically, when you become aware of your mind, you will see that there are 4 levels. The first is your thoughts, emotions, patterns, going. You know, this is there. And the second level is the witness level. When you take a step back and you watch all this. So there's also a part of your mind that can be a witness. The third level is when you go beyond the witness, you will become aware of a place of total silence. It is like a deep sleep. And this is a very good state to be in, but in general, it's not a good state because we like it so much that we don't want to come out of this. But this is not the last station. The last station is the fourth state, where all the three states are included. You have the thought or the mind, active mind, the witness mind, and the peaceful mind are all part of a bigger space, which is not even you. That space cannot be named. That space doesn't come and go. You see, your silent mind comes and goes. Today it is silent, tomorrow it is noisy. But silence and noise, all the opposites, are included in a huge, unimaginable space, which is actually your true self. And there, everything is a part of it. So when you become aware, you go deeper and deeper, then you are able to connect with that deepest sense of self, the large self, not the small self with its waking stage, sleep stage, dreaming stage. This is the small self. But the large self is all inclusive of all time and all space. And when you get in touch with that, then what happens is that even though your emotions are there and fears are there, but they don't seem to have that kind of potency, that kind of effect on you. It's like going on a 20th or 120th floor of a building and watching people. You can see the people, but they don't affect you so much. See, you are a little distance, and that space is you. So it's always available to you. So this is the last part of, in some sense, healing the mind also, healing the soul also. And the last thing I want to answer your one question is about causality. So is there a causality to all this, And I would like to say that from my perception, my viewpoint, I don't look at causality. I don't say ever the question, why is this happening to you? Why am I feeling this? My question always is, what is happening? And go deeper and deeper into the what of it. Don't think about the why of it, because the why will always remain a theory. When you go deeper into the what, healing will happen, whatever the cause of it is. And these are my thoughts for today. And there are other things, but I think maybe another time.
Do you have, well, I wasn't able to adequately applaud when you finished singing. You're also an excellent singer, quite apart from being a homeopath. And may I ask some questions? I don't think there are too many, because your presentation has been so eloquently comprehensive that no questions have come up. So I'm going to take the liberty of asking you a few questions.
Sure.
And I think it's, I'm still not clear. I mean, I understand the philosophy, and I understand your sort of very intuitive and structured and yet rational sensibility that it enables you to diagnose a patient and then to find a homeopathic medicine that mirrors and mimics it, and that the music that you're using also sort of in a sense mimics that kind of thing in evoking an particular emotional response that helps us heal, and that you reaffirm that causality is not important. But I think that the challenge very often is, and this is one of my own sort of concerns, that we recognize these things. And as I said in the beginning, other than going to a homeopath, when someone is mentally deeply distressed, so I mean, yoga recommends that you do some breathing exercises, you do something. It's not necessarily doing deep meditation to heal oneself and obviously to reach that stage. but what are some of the kind of self-help things? Does homeopathy offer sort of, home remedies that we can keep a homeopathic kit at home? Most homeopaths don't have the time. When you're working with a patient, you spend, a very long time going through this process. When we have millions and millions of people in India struggling with livelihood, struggling with existential issues, how do we look at healing them? And how can we, when they are in distress, someone has a heart condition, someone has a kidney problem, how do we begin to help these people?
Well, there are two things. One is in terms of the homeopathic principle. I would say that as far as today's topic is concerned, healing the mind, if you want the most simple tip that I can offer, it is awareness. So whenever you are in an emotional moment, in a crisis moment, just take time off and look within. Don't analyze, don't interpret, don't wish it away, don't explain it, don't give any kind of psychological theory. Just purely look inside what is happening. What are the thoughts? What are the emotions? What are the imaginations? What is the bodily experience? Just become a witness of your own experience and nothing more. You don't have to speak about it. You don't have to write it. You don't have to go to a homeopath and describe it. You don't have to find the words for it even. You just have to become aware of it. And this can be the best healing process that you can do. Secondly, as far as healing diseases is concerned, like heart disease, you have to go to a homeopath. You cannot do it at home. It's like asking a lay person to conduct his own surgery. It's not possible. So, of course, there are some small home remedies. For example, arnica 200 you can take for injury. This I can say to anybody. Or there's a remedy called cantharis, which can be used when somebody gets a burn. So except for these acute things, a few trauma things, I would not suggest that somebody should practice homeopathy on his own without training, without qualification, because superficial homeopathy is not recommended. You need to heal, and there are, fortunately, in India 500 homeopathic colleges and several hundreds of thousands of homeopaths around. No dearth of them. Every street corner you will find. Of course, you need to find the right one, a good quality one, who practices the real principles of individualization, going deep into a case, prescribing one remedy, treating you as a person. And when you find that person, stay with that person for a prolonged period of time. It's not a short-term cure. So stay at least 6 months before you start seeing results. And that's the best advice I can give.
Could you give us a sense that of how homeopathy works? And homeopathy is so challenged by Western medicine and Western methods of evaluation that few countries in the world recognize it as a legitimate system of medicine. And so how, apart from episodic individual responses, which vary, how do you distinguish a good homeopath from a quack?
Well, basically, you have to see how long the homeopath takes your case. How does he try to understand you, go into your physical and mental symptoms in detail, and prescribes you one remedy at a time and not several. So this is the signs of a good homeopath, basically. And as far as the skepticism about homeopathy is concerned, it can be only addressed, in my understanding, by clinical research, by which I mean we must have placebo-controlled, double-blind trials that clearly establish the effectiveness of homeopathy versus placebo. This is the only golden standard that is accepted. And I must say that we have already begun this process of these kind of trials. Of course, we come into a catch-22 situation where the allopathic hospital says, because you have no trials to prove yourself, therefore you are not valid. But when we approach them for the trials, they say you are not allowed to do the trials. So you can't have it both ways. So we are ready to face the challenge. And if anybody, even on this program, would like to collaborate, any kind of hospital physician, we are happy to collaborate. We have done, for example, in COVID, we conducted a trial in 4 major hospitals in Pune. And we compared 150 patients on homeopathy versus 150 patients not on homeopathy, and we have established that the results are, in terms of mortality and complications, are far better with homeopathy. So this is one trial we have completed, and we would like to do similar trials, especially in collaboration with open-minded allopathic doctors. And I think this is the way in which homeopathy will find acceptance and validity. And luckily for India, we have really open-minded allopaths also. And I really salute them, because in India, we have the philosophy that if you are right, I'm not necessarily wrong. This we are able to, accept. That's why we have so many religions in India that coexist. So it's not necessary that if I am of one religion, the other religion is bad. This is not the Indian thought at all. We are an example to the world of the coexistence and acceptance and respect of each other's way of thinking. And this also spills into the medical world. And homeopaths, we respect the allopath and for what he can bring, and the allopath respects homeopaths, because the approaches are different. Homeopathy is holistic and individualistic. Allopathy is more system or organ specific, and they can work together also.
I think we have traditionally begun to expect and look for treatment protocols. So like you said, that you have a burn and you use catharsis. Now, where we also associate, a layman's understanding of homeopathy, there are 3 different people have burns or for whatever symptoms, that they could need different kinds of medication. And a lot of that depends, on the...
They could need 3 medicines, but injuries and burns are 2 conditions in which the type of symptomatology in 2 people are very, very similar. If you hit somebody's head with a hammer and you hit somebody else's head with a hammer, most likely they will tell the same story again. So when the effect is too intense, there is a similarity of expression. So we are able to shortlist arnica for injury or cantharis for burns, etc. But this is in a very limited, kind of conditions. But in general, you are right. Each individual will react differently.
But then it so hinges on the sensibility, not just sort of the knowledge of the doctor, the treating homeopath, on the particular sensibility of the physician. Look at your sensibility. The fact that your reflections, your interest in music, the many layers of your sensibility obviously make you who you are as one of the most sort of impactful, successful homeopaths. And I don't mean from a business model at all, but certainly in terms of your ability to treat and help patients. And I'm just going back to the question because we are confronting a health crisis in India, where there are not enough doctors, there's not enough treatment. The medical profession is exploitive of patients. It charges a lot of money. There are unnecessary tests. So someone who's working to heal people, how do you see, what are the options available to this larger canvas of challenges that we as a nation and community confront?
Well, I think the answer to your question lies in training and, education, so that we are having a large number of homeopaths graduating out of colleges. I believe 300 colleges are there, and every year 100 homeopaths from each college come out. So we have several 100,000 homeopaths, but not all are of equal quality. And therefore, it has been my endeavor for so many years as a teacher, as a professor, and now as the head of the Other Song Academy, International Academy of Homeopathy, to actually take these graduates and do a kind of education with them, and skill and training, especially practical experience, by watching experienced homeopaths take the cases and prescribe. And I think the answer to the question of how we can spread good homeopathy across is by creating good homeopaths. And that's what we are attempting to do.
And before I hand this over to Aparna, who's sort of the lady in waiting with the questions, is that this is something you practice yourself, and that is, why don't homeopathic doctors mention or reveal the name of the medicines that they're giving the patient? Because that often leads to how do I put it? The accusations that people are using. I'm not saying you're doing this, but people are using steroids, and we don't know what they're sneaking into the pill. So
I can absolutely assure you that no homeopath I know since my 42 years of practice has ever used a steroid mixed, deceitfully into a remedy. This is complete nonsense. And this can be easily proved by taking the pill to the laboratory and getting it tested, and you will be 100% sure that there is no steroid. I can tell you for sure. Secondly, if somebody is taking steroid for 6 months, his face will become like a moon, his bones will start dissolving, his blood sugar will shoot up. Nothing happens to homeopathic patients. So it's for sure that nothing like that is happening. One of the reasons why the homeopathic doctor does not reveal the medicine is because the follow-up of the case is very, very important. When we give a medicine, we need to see the patient after a month, evaluate and see what has to be done next. Sometimes in India, what happens when you give the name of the remedy, the fellow takes it as a license to take it for the next 6 years, because he doesn't have to pay you. And that's not good for him. So this could be a reason. But in my practice, if any patient asks for the name of the remedy, it will be given without a second's hesitation. Except when the patient knows something about homeopathy, etc., and he will read up the medicine and he'll tell you it's not my medicine. Nobody wants to believe that he needs a donkey's milk or he needs a spider or a snake. I don't, it's not me. And then he spoils the whole thing. So sometimes I tell the patient, it is not in your interest to know the name of the medicine. So if you trust me, I'll write it in an envelope and keep it for you. And after you are better, you can take it. If you trust me, do that. Otherwise, if you insist, I'll give you. I don't have a problem. So these are some possible reasons. But ethically, the homeopathic doctor is obliged to reveal the name of the medicine if asked for it.
Okay, one final question, because it refers to me. And I have just been turned into a doctor. So there is a question that asks, what medicine was given to Dr. Mehrotra? He never became a doctor. So what medicine did you give me 30 years ago?
Well, it was from a carnivorous plant, which is called Dionaea muscipula, which is a Venus flytrap. So what it does is it opens like that. And when an insect sits in, it just traps it like that. And this was probably very similar to the gesture that you made. And the remedy given to you was from this plant.
Well, I just wanted to sort of reaffirm that good, bad, indifferent, wherever I am probably a poor testimonial to your wonderful and remarkable skills. So thank you very much. And over to you, Aparna, for a summary of some of the questions following an excellent presentation that has taught us so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sankaran, for that very, very interesting session. And I think what made it extra special was that, we were all sort of part of it with those little experiments that you conducted with us. A number of questions. But I'll start with the first one, where somebody's asking, the person has opted to remain anonymous. Somebody's asking us if there is anything that you think is beyond the scope of homeopathy.
Well, I can say like this, that homeopathy works on the person's general health, immunity, what we call as the psycho-neuro-endocrine immune system axis, which means the central government of the whole organism. You see, so therefore, in my experience, homeopathy helps everybody. But to what extent it can help depends also on the nature of the pathology. So there are many pathologies which cannot reverse. that keep deteriorating, you know. For example, there is a condition called motor neuron disease. So what we are able to do is to reduce the speed of its progress, but we are not able to stop or reverse it. For example, a bad case of Parkinson's disease. So we are able to halt sometimes the progress even. So there are many conditions. For example, end stage of many cancers. We are able to palliate, we are able to give relief, we are able to increase the immunity, and the person's state of mind is so much better. But it's not a good prognosis. So therefore, the medicine can help and reverse what is possible, but not everything is possible. The only thing I can say is that some things which we think are difficult can also be reversed with homeopathy, but not everything. But on the whole, it will help you wherever you are to the extent possible.
Right. And from that emerges the next question, which is that can it be complementary to allopathy? So can the two sort of treatment systems go together?
Yes, they can be, because they act on different levels. You see, the allopath is more symptomatic. You have pain relief, you have anti-epileptic, you have, anti-hypertensive and, hypoglycemic. So they act locally on organ system, and the homeopathy acts on the whole, increases your entire body's healing powers. And therefore they can complement. And normally when patients come to us with long standing allopathic treatment, we don't stop it straight away. We introduce the homeopathy, and then we see mostly that the allopathic medicine is required less and less over a period of time.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in because it's a seminal question to our efforts with this series of programs and conversations, is really that when does our mind need healing? And we're doing some programs in resilience. And so what really is happening, that our resilience is diminishing as we raise the threshold of our sense of wellness. And so as a treating doctor, very often a Western doctor will say, look, this is all, hypochondria. You are fine. You don't have a problem other than it's all in your head. But that in itself is a problem.
Yes, you see, as far as the modern medical doctor is concerned, as long as all the reports are normal, the patient is normal. Your heart is normal, your blood pressure is normal, your blood tests are normal, so you're okay. Rest is all in the mind. But actually, that's the beginning of the problem, because initially disease expresses itself as a state of being. First, you fall sick, and then your organs fall sick. So the homeopathy catches you when you are sick as a whole, before your organs can fall sick. So it prevents further complications. And in homeopathy, we don't believe that if all your organs are normal, you are normal. It means when you're stuck in a particular pattern of perception and response, you're already sick. If you wait long enough, that will manifest into an ulcer, blood pressure, or heart attack. So we can treat it before that happens.
And the other dimension that comes up in, when you flip through a materia medica, that while your emphasis is on the experiential, the common strand of experience that people go through and diagnosis from that, but yet the homeopathic materia medica will ask you, which side of the bed you get out from, whether you like salt or you like sugar, or what your sort of taste preferences are. So the number of elements in the matrix of a materia medica is absolutely overwhelming and dazzling in some ways, that people have broken up the impact of particular homeopathic medicines to that. And you are going into sort of like a very holistic grab of the essential.
So these two approaches are complementary. That means when you look at a coin, you want to look at it from both the sides, So one side is all the facts that you mentioned. Do you like salt or sugar, or which side of the bed you lie down on, etc. These are the facts. And I look into those facts also because they are very important. At the same time, you want to know that the medicine not only covers the facts, but it also covers your experience at a deeper level. When you want to choose your partner, you don't just go by what is her height and the color of her eyes and what is her qualification. That's important also. But you also want to know what you feel, how do you experience, what is the energy there. So only when those two match, you say yes to this person or that person. Even for a shirt, you look at the price, you look at the color, you look at the brand, etc. But also you wear it and see how you feel. So whenever we choose something, we choose it on the basis of facts and on the basis of experience. So I introduced this second dimension into homeopathy. That is called the sensation method. Originally, it was totally based on symptoms, as you said, fact, 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 fact. I said, but there must be another dimension. And through my work, I came to that. And so now we use both the aspects in order to be doubly sure. And that's the reason why our success rate has gone up significantly, because now we are able to see both the sides of the coin.
I also should add, I'm sorry to be barging in, is that I didn't get a chance while Dr. Sankaran was making his presentation, so I'm going to take this liberty. You have also pushed the boundaries of homeopathy by sort of, I don't want to use the word designing, but accessing new elements, plants and minerals and what have you, new drugs. Drugs is a horrible word when you associate with homeopathy, but you have brought that into the fore. So what is the process of, looking at whatever substance you have now come up with and found its correlatives in the human experience?
Well, it's basically in homeopathy, we use single substances. So we don't use combinations, we don't put 3 elements or a chemical. It should be found in nature as it is, either a plant or a mineral or animal, it should be found. We don't break it down or we don't combine. And then, each homeopath kind of gets an intuition that maybe this substance may be very useful. Maybe it will see reflection in human beings. I got a thought that maybe lion's milk may be very useful in homeopathy. So luckily, I had a friend who was involved with lions, in a lion park. And I requested him to obtain some lion's milk for me. So we got the lion's milk and we diluted according to the homeopathic principle. And we did a proving of it. A proving meaning we give it to healthy people and ask them to note the effects. Just like when I sang, I asked you, what is the effect of it? Same way we give this substance and say, what's the effect on you? And I remember the proving, one lady was a very mild person. She took this remedy and she said, after taking it, I felt like this. And I told my husband, either that maid is in the house or I am in the house. You decide. And then she came and told me, very good substance, please let me keep taking it. I like it. It's very nice for me. So we understood that the energy of the lion is a fight to the finish. There is no compromise. It's the exact opposite of a dog, when you see 2 dogs barking, and then one goes down and one goes up, and that's the end of the fight. We call it as a top dog and an underdog. In lion, there is no top lion and under lion. They will fight to the finish. And if somebody has that kind of energy in him, that kind of spirit, lion's milk will help. As a lac leoninum, it's called. I had a patient with a very bad eye problem. He could hardly see. And he came to me and said, tell me your nature. He said, I am, when I get angry, I don't see who is in front of me. One day I just held the collar of my boss and I gave him 2 or 3, So he needed lion's milk. He did very well with it. So the process of bringing new remedies into homeopathy is at the will of an individual homeopath who wants to bring it, and he imagines that this can be useful, then it undergoes a process of proving on healthy volunteers, a very systematic record of these proving symptoms, and then it enters into dictionaries called repertories and reference works, very extensive software we have in homeopathy, beautiful. And then it can be prescribed to a patient after due verification with the authorities, etc. So when Hahnemann died in 1843, there were 99 remedies. Today, homeopathy has more than 4,000 remedies. So a lot of remedies have been introduced, and this has been a very, very useful addition.
So is lion's milk a controlled substance or the medicine? Because I would certainly welcome a dose of it occasionally.
Yeah, it will do nothing for you unless you have the lion energy in you. If that energy is not there, it will do nothing for you.
So, Aparna, who I work with, is really blessed that I don't have access to it.
We work on you anyway, so I'm safe here.
That's terrible.
That is the beauty of homeopathy, that if the remedy doesn't match you, it does nothing for you. If I may compare, suppose there is a music that you resonate to, and if that music is playing, you will react to it, you will respond to it. But if that music is not your music, you will ignore it. It will not hurt you. So that's the reason why a homeopathic remedy does not have any side effects, because it doesn't really have substance to that degree that can produce a side effect. When the energy matches, there will be a response. When it doesn't match, it does nothing.
There's often also this sort of understanding of homeopathy, Dr. Sankaran, which is that sometimes the symptoms get worse before they get better. Is that true?
It is not true at all. In my 43 years of practice, I haven't observed cases like that. But however, what happens is that we believe that the disease generally, as the patient's immunity goes down, the disease goes from less important to more important organs. So for example, if somebody has eczema and his immunity goes down, that eczema will be manifested as asthma, because the underlying basis of eczema and asthma is the same, it is allergy. And in allopathy, this is called an atopic constitution, which has eczema as well as asthma. So very often when you put a lot of steroids on the skin, etc., the eczema disappears and the person may land up with asthma. Now, when you go for homeopathy, the asthma will get better, the eczema will come up. This is a natural reversal of the process of suppression. And this is a good sign. But some people may think this is an aggravation. I took homeopathy, the skin problem came up. But it's not an aggravation. It is a progression of cure. We call it as the Herring's law of cure, where disease goes in healing from more to less important organs. So this can happen.
There's also a question where somebody wants to know, what really is the sort of gold standard? I mean, when should you go first to a homeopath and not to an allopathic doctor? Is there anything like that, or can you go to a homeopath for everything? What would be your advice?
Well, I would say that if you are not in an emergency situation, then you should go to the homeopath, because he can prevent a lot of things for you. But if you're in an emergency, then definitely you should go to the hospital. No denying that. No, you need care at the, if you're in COVID, your both lungs are full of inflammation and you need oxygen. You need oxygen at that time. Don't look elsewhere. But I would say that if we do things correctly, if we use homeopathy, we use awareness, we use music, and if we use correct diet, and we use exercise, the right lifestyle, meditation, spiritual orientation, I can tell you that the allopathic treatment will be restricted to emergency medicine. that most of the conditions can heal, including blood sugar, etc., etc. You see, nowadays, a lot of work is being done on this, and many diseases can be reversed by right diet, lifestyle, right kind of thinking, awareness, homeopathy, and healing, yoga, etc., etc. And luckily, people are getting more and more aware of this now, and they are going for this. That's a good thing. I remember, yeah, I think Prime Minister Modi, he inaugurated a hospital in Gujarat, or I heard like this, it must be true. And it seems the first floor was devoted to alternative medicine, homeopathy, Ayurveda and all that. And the upper floors were devoted to, modern medicine. And he said in his speech that the reason why they put all this in the first floor is because most people may not need to go to a higher floor after that, it can stop there. So I believe that's what we should look at.
Right. And when you're saying homeopathy, we've today learned about the two new approaches that you came up with, the sensation approach and the classical music approach. But most other homeopaths are not aware of that yet. I mean, people are learning that. So how can we access that? I mean, that's the kind of question, some of the questions that have been asked sort of are pointing towards that. How do we access these other ways of looking at the human condition through homeopathy?
Well, the thing is that as far as the music is concerned, you use Raga Therapy app. That is good, and everybody can use it. There is no problem. And as far as sensation approach is concerned, a lot of homeopaths are doing it now, increasing numbers, because I have been teaching this for the last 25 years. And several thousands homeopaths all over the world are practicing it. However, even if they don't do that, there are many ways to roam, So you can use, traditional homeopathy and still come to the same conclusion if you are a skilled practitioner. So it's because our idea is that all of these reflect the same inner pattern. So whether you come to it from here or you come to it from there, you may still come to the right remedy. However, if you come to it from both the ways, then you are more sure. That is the idea.
Right. Thank you. The final question for the evening. There's somebody who wants to know how you personally draw strength. What is the secret of your resilience? How do you stay strong in the face of, the many adversities that we all face?
Basically, I see life as a game. I see that, I'm a very, very small particle in time-space context. I'm nothing of a nothing of a nothing. It is all a game. And I don't take myself too seriously. I think this is probably the reason. I see myself in a much larger context. I see myself as an apple tree that gives apples. I have no choice but to give apples. I didn't create the apples, And if you ask me to give mangoes, I cannot give you whatever the price of the mangoes today. I cannot produce a mango. I can produce apples, and I am doing it, and one day I'll go. So I am not me. I'm just an instrument in the hands of something else. So basically, and one day, whatever I say and whatever I do, I will die. And then I will be called the body. I won't even have a name. Take this body away, they will say. So if I can see myself in that context, then I think everything is easy. Then, he said that to me. Oh my God, how many people attended my seminar? Oh, what money did I make? I mean, in the ultimate context of things, what is the importance of all this? Right? So this is what this is what gives me strength. I just enjoy every moment of awareness. There is pain, there is pleasure, there is anger. I'm also human. You see, I'm not a saint, or there's a saint part of me also, but there's a human part. but I just observe it. I just watch it and I let it go. I don't hold on to it. I just watch it and let it go, and I learn every day. I learn, I evolve, and I feel at peace with myself and with the rest of the planet. I have no bad feelings about anybody, and I think everybody is in his own boat, seeing his own story, reaction to his own pattern, wearing his own t-shirt, hearing his own song. And I don't take it personally. What people say or do to me is their problem, not mine. If I can help them, I will help them, but it doesn't affect me, because I can see that they are coming from their perception. It's not me that they are. And even if they do good things to me, I don't take it personally. You'll say, you did this, you did that, you're a great person. I say, okay, very good. That is how you see me. You see, I'm not too swayed by criticism or appreciation. And I like to learn and enjoy and sing and get angry sometimes and look into it. And, I don't know how to put it better than this. I don't see any big purpose of my life, or I have to be enlightened or darkened or whatever. I don't have all these ideas in my head. Just live, be aware, and let go. See yourself in a larger context. Connect to the deepest self of your being, and don't try to be enlightened. That is a self-defeating proposition, because who is going to be enlightened? It's your ego who is saying, I want to be enlightened, I want to be spiritual master. It will take you away from there, in my understanding.
I was going to say,
give up, completely give up the idea of achieving anything, and you are already there. This is what I believe.
Right. Before I hand over to Rajiv, I'm going to, okay.
Okay, now, I was just going to say that was so eloquent, and that really, so for our next session, that will be the real question. How do you get to where you are? That is the aspiration of this program.
Listen. You have all the books behind you. You should know what I know. I have nothing.
If big books, I mean, if the books could do it.
Look who's talking. I have only a wall behind me.
That may be the truth. That may be the truth.
Is the wall. All the books are not doing it for the rest of us. I just want to thank the people who came up with questions. Sudhir Patil, Shivangi Vaghela, Monali Banerjee, Dr. Veena Sri Y, Indira Unni Nair, Shirin Deshpande, Tatiana, and Moyad Vora. Thank you very much. We can't take all questions, unfortunately. We're already at 7:40. But to quickly answer somebody's question, yes, a link of this recording will be available. It will be available on YouTube or the Foundation's YouTube channel. So you'll find it there. And I'm sure, I mean, we'll have to do many sessions with Dr. Sankaran, I think, to address all the very many questions that have been asked. On that note, I'd like to hand back to Rajiv to close the day's session.
Gosh, Dr. Sankaran has left me completely speechless, and my sort of, several attempts to try and, how do I put it, come up with intelligent questions all failed, because he just answered all of them, moved briskly through them. So I will have to now go and quite literally sit at his feet. Be warned.
We are all in the same boat, my friend. And nobody has to sit at anybody's feet.
That's metaphorical, I assure you. So
it's a very scary thought, I can tell you. I don't want people sitting at my feet or me sitting at anybody's feet.
Particularly,
we are all temporary beings in this, in the same boat. And I think we recognize each other. I recognize you as the soul that I am. And I think that's good enough. That's why we are friends.
So here's celebrating you, and thank you, and to your partner, who I hope is sort of somewhere on the periphery of the screen, that it has been a great pleasure, and we hope to get to know her and maybe have her on the program with you.
Yeah. But if she comes on the program, I will have nothing to say, as you very well know.
That's the point. Thank you very much.
Then I will be speechless. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be with all of you.